Welcome on into the show. My name is Deny Gallagher, and I'm joined by the snare campaign provocateur, the reverber in chief over there. It's Benny Horowitz. What's up, dude?
It's my Eddie Murphy laugh.
That's what that was?
Something like that, or a frog. I'm not sure.
Oh, my goodness.
What's your favorite Eddie Murphy movie of all time?
My favorite Eddie Murphy movie of all time. Beverly Hills Cop is up there. See, now, when we count Eddie Murphy movies, are we talking early? Because I think what you're saying to me,
I'm talking Donkey.
Okay,
Dr. Dolittle, Coming to America, the whole gauntlet.
So many people my age would say Shrek. I can't do that. Honestly, oh man, it's got to be Coming to America. First one. That was the first one where I was like, the guy from Shrek is like the greatest comedian I've ever seen.
Coming to America's got to be mine. I've seen that movie like 650 times in my life. I can quote it up and down. I literally have a picture of sexual chocolate down by my drums. Yeah. So yeah, I gotta say that. But I mean, Donkey is like, might be one of his most defining characters. But Mike Myers and Shrek, like if you're gonna go, this is my favorite Eddie Murphy movie. You got to go a leading man role.
Yeah,
of course. Beverly Hills Cop though, tough. I mean, that might be like Coming to America. Let me say this: Coming to America, probably best movie. In my opinion, Beverly Hills Cop might be the like peak Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
because the Axel Foley is like that's Eddie Murphy, like to the T.
It was so funny. So when I was younger, he had all these movies that were like real stinkers. So like I kind of came up at like a really bad time. But then
don't you dare say Boomerang?
No. Good shot right across the river here. No.
See how upset I just got?
Yeah. I had
don't you dare say Distinguished Gentleman.
No. Way later than this. When you were having fun and being an adult, he started to put out like kids movies that were like that wasn't Cheaper by the Dozen was Steve Martin.
That was Martin.
It was a weird time where all of these guys were putting out like kids movies that were like kind of trash. He put out like Are We There Yet? Like the first one, right? I think that
isn't that Ice Cube?
Or was that Ice Cube? There was one. Oh no. Daddy Daycare.
Oh, right. That's it.
That's like, it. Even as like a kid, I'm like, is this supposed to be funny? So,
but your confusion is proof that every one of those dudes did a movie like that at that time. Yeah. It is. They were following the Chase model at the time.
Exactly.
Denny, I threw your intro way off track. What are you going to do now?
Way off track.
What are you going to do now?
You know what throws this show off track and kind of puts it on track, not to borrow another Benny Horowitz franchise over here.
Tell me what.
But it's this day in music history.
Boom.
All right. What do you got?
Well, it's pretty apropos because a lot of the conversations I've had in the last couple months have been about Taylor Swift.
Oh.
And a lot of locals. She did 3 nights in Philly, 3 nights at MetLife, and I live between these places. And between the two, she's managed to sell probably about 250,000 tickets in each.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people went, and the word's been getting out. And a lot of the questions been like, why Taylor Swift as opposed to other artists? Why did she rise above? Why, like what's so special about her besides for these amazing 3.5 hour long shows, these flawless shows? And on this day in 2017, Taylor Swift wipes clean her social media accounts. At this time, it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and her personal YouTube. And 3 days later, she begins posting video of a snake to tease her scathing song, Look What You Made Me Do, released August 25th, a couple weeks later. So I think this is an indication. The reason I chose this as my this day is this is an indication of what I've been mentioning about Taylor Swift for a while, which is you don't get this big without just a series of good moves that, and of course good music, but things that like tie you to your fans and your fan base, create a narrative, create people rooting for you, maybe even people advocating for you. And she's had many situations that would lend to that. So I think this is like part and parcel to like the Taylor Swift narrative and experience. There's been all these like things through the years that, keep her on people's minds, keep her in the press and keep people on her side. And it's dangerous territory because every time you play it, it could go the wrong way on you. And that's where Taylor Swift deserves a lot of credit for being culturally very wise and savvy, I would say.
I've been thinking about this summer of Taylor a lot and how we kind of got to this place. We like do this podcast, but then also in like the cultural conversation, I think when you kind of start in the 05 range and we kind of get these what was that, Carrie Underwood Before He Cheats, and then we get Beyonce, and as that starts to become more popular, I think a blueprint was kind of put out of, okay, how you can run pop music with a mostly female fan base, what they're trying to hear. So those they're kind of like the like the chubby checkers of like the female pop sphere of like, all right, here's what you do for world domination. And then Taylor kind of saw this and it's like, I'm kind of more in this country lane. And then we go and we have 1989 and like that whole era in her more pop sphere. And that's how you get to, I think, mostly white women just like flocking to stadiums across the country. I saw this week.
It seems as if that's the case.
And we didn't put this in the rundown because this is kind of a hodgepodge today. Apparently, she turned down the 2024 Super Bowl. Too good for Roger Goodell. I love it.
Smart. Smart. You don't get involved.
Yeah.
When you're doing that well, it's like,
I'm good.
Nah, NFL. I'm fine on that. Fine on that. Yeah. Smart move, Taylor. Another smart move by Taylor.
Another smart move.
Yeah.
One day she'll do the halftime show, but that's probably, after she has.
Yeah, we're thinking, we got to wait for the decline.
Yeah, she's going to do.
There's going to be the decline and the comeback, and that's when
right.
she's going to do the halftime show. It's going to be like 2046 or something.
I love it. And it's going to be like Prince, and she's going to like do that. There's going to be rain. It's going to be magical. Anyway.
Can't wait.
Speaking of magic, big, and I'm pretty sure that I've done this day in New Jersey history, in this day in music history before, but on this day in 1986, Bon Jovi released Slippery When Wet, peaked at #1 in the U.S. chart, selling over 28 million copies worldwide, with songs that you love, like You Give Love a Bad Name and Living on a Prayer. So this day, 86, big one. Also,
very big.
If I can double dip in the 80s a little bit here on this day in music history, 2 years earlier, Careless Whisper goes #1. So huge day for just 80s bangers on this day in music history.
Man, I've said many times before, no diss to anybody else. But if there's a New Jersey artist or record up until a certain point of my life I listen to the most, it is 1,000% Slippery When Wet.
Man.
And I can say with complete clarity from my own anecdotal experience that Living on a Prayer is like borderline like Sweet Caroline territory for its strange impact throughout the world, not just US. Like I've been at bars all over Europe, like in Japan and Australia, and you're like sure to still hear Living on a Prayer, hear people go nuts, try to hit that note and not get there. Because that's the funniest thing to listen to at a bar for Living on a Prayer is when he gets to the note, listening to people try to get there, and it's almost impossible. But I don't know, man. I love this record. It stands up. It's fun, and sometimes I don't think Bon Jovi. I think Bon Jovi like rose above the 80s almost in a way when like these conversations about who's like the best cock rock band of all time, and people go into like Warrant, Poison, and Skid Row, and you forget like Bon Jovi was in the mix and we're like way above and probably better, and a little smarter at pop, certainly less edgy than these other bands. But I think they were maybe like the vanilla hair rock band of the
vanilla hair rock band. And then their complete second life when I was in middle school in like the early 2000s was, I mean, you're talking selling out a week at Giant Stadium. I mean, granted, he probably wasn't doing well. Like, actually, there was a point in like the mid 2000s where they were doing stadium tours, like Taylor Swift types. Stadium
and that's where you got to give him credit, because even someone like me, who at the time, I'm probably like a shitty punk rock kid who's like literally listening to, only local bands who write hardcore breakdowns. And I hear It's My Life on the radio and go like, yeah, it is. It is my life, Bond. Keep going.
Frankie said I did it my way.
Yeah, like, and it kind of hypes you up. It's almost like Eminem, like, or something. You're like, yeah, oh fuck, you only have one chance. So give him credit.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Oh, I could go on and on about that band. Transformative in my childhood. So,
yeah.
All right, Benny, let's get to another 70s, 80s heartthrob that kind of got into a bit of a bit of hot water when it comes to the New York crowd this week.
Don't ask the Mad Dog.
That's right. And we're gonna hear from him in a little bit.
We got good. I'm glad we got the dog
because I sometimes you got to pay homage to the people that gave you the platform.
Sure.
So anyway, Lionel Richie performed Monday after he had to cancel a concert last minute over the weekend at Madison Square Garden. The singer was forced to postpone a scheduled New York City concert with Earth, Wind & Fire at Madison Square Garden. An hour after the show was supposed to begin, the Grammy winner explained the cancellation was due to poor weather. The New York crowd, however, was not so happy, and nobody encapsulated a New York crowd more than my good buddy, the Mad Dog, Mr. Christopher Mad Dog Russo. Here's what he had to say on First Take.
Slim, he's keeping it up.
Anybody see what Lionel Richie did this weekend?
Hello?
Friday night, Lionel Richie played at TD Bank North. The weather this weekend in the New York area was absolutely glorious. Saturday, he was going to play Madison Square Garden. 19,000 people putting their life earnings to go to that event. 50th wedding anniversaries, mom and dad, grandpa, the whole 9 yards. Did you know that Richie tweeted out an hour after the show was supposed to start with everybody in the garden that he couldn't make it?
What?
He had travel issues coming from Boston. Walk here. Wheels up. Told us Stephen A. Figure out a way to get here at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday with everybody having spent a fortune to get into the building, food, drinks, parking, or wherever to go, and he tweets at 9, 10 o'clock at night, I can't make it, but you can come back Monday where make sure the ticket stands. Well, it's a weekend. People travel in to see this. That is a complete, utter disgrace. He said he had travel issues. You know what you do? You leave TD Bank North on Friday night, you take in a cellar, you get your rear end of the garden, and you play. That is a joke. I can't believe.
Yeah, so apparently, because apparently you can just prop up an entire traveling company and just like
said.
So Christopher Mad Dog Russo, Radio Hall of Famer. So I guess we could take a couple notes because of things like that. But I don't think he has a leg to stand on here because, quite frankly, my man's never done it. But the best my man has ever done at a live show is Barre. Granted, he had Francesca Cana and stuff like that. There's a big traveling company here. I don't think he has a leg to stand on with this argument.
I disagree.
Okay, let's
do it. I disagree. I mean, well, here's the thing. First off, it's Mad Dog and it's the Garden. Like, I think one of the reasons he took it so personally is he was almost assuredly getting text messages from people at the Garden waiting for Lionel Richie because that's his people. Like, the demographic for that show is what? 40 to 70.
Yeah.
Old school. Like, so, the proper 70s, 80s crowd. So, like, I'm sure he was getting texts from some angry 62-year-old ladies he knows and stuff, who were at that show, came in from Jersey for the night,
from New Canaan,
got a room, did the thing. So I think this is where his fury, like, he makes a good point, but then of course goes Mad Dog on it, where he makes everyone in the room uncomfortable. You see Stephen A's eyes during that. He's just like, But here's the thing. I've been in some strange situations where you have to cancel shows or you come close to canceling shows. And one of the things you really got to take into consideration is when you do it, and if like, you do have a responsibility to set up your day with a pad. You know what I mean? And the impression I get from this is like, I don't think Lionel Richie was traveling with like a traveling party. A show takes all day to set up. Anybody who is setting up gear, production, backstage, anything to make that show run was there ass early in the morning, especially at the Garden, which is all union. So like if you want to go work at the Garden, you're there at like 5 because you're not even allowed to unwrap your own fucking cords in New York City. So that's where one part of it is not true. And what I think is that he booked a very close flight, something that like, okay, what's the least amount of time I can spend in New York City right now? I'm going to land at JFK at 6:15. This town car is going to take me to the Garden by like 7:30. I'll be there for like an hour. I'll perform at 8:30 and then I'm out. And like, you know, of course, like in a perfect world, that's a decent plan. But anybody who's been traveling, touring, doing this stuff for a long time knows we are dealing with an imperfect world that does not cater to you like most of the time, you know? So, you know, I've been in this game less than Lionel Richie, and I would know to never do that. And if you are foreseeing problems, you have a responsibility at like 2 p.m. to be like, you know what, this is cutting it too close. I got to do it, because you can't have people in the seats. And that's where Mad Dog is right. Like, you do have to consider some of this stuff, especially these days. Like, you know, going into the Garden for a night, like say you're a huge Lionel Richie fan from whatever, hypothetically, you're from Syracuse or something, right? And you decide to come down to the city that weekend and you spend maybe 2 nights for a hotel room and you do the drive and you're doing food for 48 hours and this and that, and the tickets just for the show, you're in like thousands of dollars, you know, 1,000 plus at least. And this is what like families take to go to like Disney World and shit like this. People are taking that same money to do this. So there is that like responsibility. If someone's in the seats, that means that shit is planned and you are the event. So, you know, the whole thing about redeeming tickets on Monday is crazy, because who all of a sudden has a Saturday night planned and then can do the exact same thing 2 nights later in the real world. So I do think Mad Dog had a point. I think Lionel Richie fucked up. I think he fucked up his plans. I think someone in his camp like should really apologize for it. You know, like it's bad.
Now, when Lionel Richie got on stage, he was like apparently begging the pilot, "Can you get through the weather? Can you do all of this stuff?" Which there were crazy storms.
I know.
Right?
I've been dealing with this for the last couple months. Like I've been flying people in and out for the last couple months to come do shows. And honestly, like 75% of the time there's been problems recently.
That's crazy.
Like it's bad out there. Like flying is bad right now. There are like a million delays. There's a million problems. They're obviously like short-staffed and overwhelmed. And it's like, it's not good right now. So
wait, so walk me through how that happens when you're trying to get people out to a situation, when from first communicating to getting them on stage. Kind of walk me through that process, because I don't think people know a lot about it.
As far as what, getting like an artist on stage?
Yeah. Like if something special is going to happen, what's the process?
Well, I mean, it's even beyond special. It's like, you know, the idea, like, let's just say Gaslight Anthem. This is my anecdotal experience. We have people who work for the band who are not from New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the idea that you're going to find a staff of touring people that you know, need and work with, that all click, that all come from the same place in this world, is like not realistic. So, you know, you go play like a one-off show in a different city, you're literally coordinating. I mean, we have an extra guitar player who lives in Canada. So even just that, you know, so I think the thing we've learned and take care of is like everybody gets in the night before, including us. Yeah. You know, we just did this literally last weekend and went to Pittsburgh for a night to do one show. And we didn't arrive on Saturday because everybody knows like that's a risk. and you arrived the night before, and that's what we did, you know. And that's the other thing too, is like, this is Boston. I've gotten from Boston to New York,
Yeah.
granted not safely, but in like 3 to 3.5 hours. Like, it's possible if you take the right way, do the right thing. So that's also another thing. Like, if you're anticipating problems, you're not in like Reno, like you're pretty close. There are other options. You can pull the Home Alone route and jump in a van with John Candy and the polka band and get there. Like, it's possible, you know?
My problem with it is it's like the presentation of his argument in the clip that we showed sounded very much just like shut up and sing.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, like the weather, getting there, you have the responsibility to the fans. I am with you on all of that. I don't like the energy of my dollars being more important than.
Oh, you took it like a shut up and dribble take, shut up and sing take.
Little bit.
Okay.
Did it not sound like that?
I could see it now that you're saying that. Yeah, there is like perhaps like a dehumanizing element where it's like, I don't care what you're dealing with, you have this responsibility. Sure. Yeah. So, well, I mean, and Lionel should have said he was having a mental health breakdown.
Boom. 100%.
And then everybody would have been chill about it.
Listen, he had to take some load management. Just be like, boom, Lionel, I have a calf strain. I don't know.
Like, oh, my flight's delayed, anxiety attack.
Yeah, boom, done.
Yeah,
easy.
Done. Everyone would have loved him. He would have been more popular.
I love it.
Oh, the 90s. It's so strange, isn't it?
All right, Benny. Another music headline today. And we're going to talk about Lizzo. I know we touched on this a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago when the story first happened. But apparently Lizzo's getting some support after she enlisted the same lawyer who took on some notable Hollywood cases, such as the Bill Cosby situation. Lizzo got some support from her backup dancers, the big girls and the big boys. They've gotten her back. They released a statement on social media talking about the workplace conduct, saying that they have gratitude for Lizzo having diverse representation, and she's championed them on inclusion and everything on her tour. They want to thank her for the experience on the special tour that wrapped in July. The dancers' appreciation comes after all of the drama and her being sued by her former dancers for pressuring and weight shaming. In the suit to the Los Angeles Superior Court, Crystal Williams and Noel Rodriguez claimed that they were victims of sexual, racial, and religious harassment, assault, false imprisonment, which I'd love to hear more about that, and disability discrimination, in addition to other allegations. So I'm always interested in situations like this where you get the rest of the dancers, when they try to make it the us versus like a few outliers situation here. So what do you make of all this? It seems to be getting convoluted in the Lizzo versus background dancers situation, and that may be the point.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm still landing in the same place, and it wouldn't surprise me like if a very talented PR agent or lawyer hit up one of these dancers and was like, could you guys possibly get something together? Because that would help our case. And then you can bring it to court and you can cast more doubt on, the people's accusations as long as this is happening. So, now, when you're dealing with stuff like this with someone who's high profile as Lizzo and the people she must have employed to protect her in this, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Gloves are dirty. Who knows at this point? Yeah. So I'm kind of landing in the same spot as I did last week, where it's like, does it sound like something that person would do to me? No. It didn't seem, and also I mentioned last week that I think sometimes, tough management coming from a female is sometimes looked at different, and sometimes it's applauded from a man and not applauded from a woman, and that could be part of this. So it's tricky, but I also don't want to sit here and say these people have no case and nothing happened to them, because I just don't know, and maybe it did. So I'm kind of in the same place as last week. Like, shoulders are shrugged. I'm not so sure, and we'll see how it plays out.
It almost seems like with these celebrities, it's almost an admission of guilt of which lawyer you hire. You can't be going into this with the same guy that
Yeah.
repped Bill Cosby for all
Yeah.
of this stuff. Like,
Yeah,
come
it's a
on.
strange look to go
Yeah.
Cosby on this.
There's so many entertainment lawyers. I mean, my God. And you're
good
going to go for
point.
the Cosby lawyer?
That's a good point. Yeah.
All right,
It's like, that's dancing into like
Dancing
Trump
with
territory.
Wolves?
Yeah.
Dancing with Wolves?
Yeah.
All right. So which kind of leads us to the next story. So we just want to take
Did Kim Kardashian pass the bar yet?
I don't. Oh wow, wow. That's gonna be her next series where she just like reps all these people. Oh, like father, like daughter, right? All right. So we just want to take a moment here, send some positive vibes to Hawaii, to Maui, to all those people. And it seems like we have another global warming ish story here. When we're talking about California and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, which I always love that fish come before wildlife in all these departments. It's always that. On Friday, they announced,
catchier.
Yeah,
If you go wildlife and fish, sounds like an add-on,
100%. But they have announced that they've confirmed a new gray wolf pack in the southern Sierra Nevada mountains. I love I love when Benny recommends stories because I never know where they're gonna go, and I just copy and paste and read it. So your guess is as good as mine where this next sentence is gonna go.
Everyone's like, what does Benny Horowitz do at this time?
Well,
I read nerdy news articles about wolves.
I love it.
That's what happens.
Benny, this is the furthest south that this kind of pack of
Yeah.
wolves have been detected in more than a century. In July, the department announced that they have reports of wolf sightings in the Sequoia National Forest as well, roughly 200 miles south of the nearest known pack in northeast California. So do you think that this, I'd be naive to say that this is just a wolf issue. This seems like more of, how you see in the oceans where we have dolphins at the Jersey Shore now. It kind of seems like that kind of situation happening.
Yeah, well, things are definitely shifting, but the thing, and I honestly, I didn't even think about that part of the argument when I sent the article, like the idea that with the environment shifting, animals are going to be moving to different places, but it's our job to adapt to that, not to stop it from happening. And I think that's always the issue I run into, talking with people about this is like, thanks to ancient Christianity and, the man's dominion over earth, the fact that we think we own these animals in this land and we're not coexisting with it, that whole concept has gotten us into deep trouble. And we're kind of living in it now. So I'm never one to say like, here's where I get a little crossed up is like, it's the same thing that's happening right now with a lot of bear attacks in the national parks out there and trickling out of the national parks into like places where normal people hike and stuff like that. And I know in Yellowstone currently, they're at the max population of bears they've had since they began starting to protect them way back in the day. And there's talk about when do you stop protecting them? And when does it become fair game again? When you help the species and now it's unnatural to continue helping the species if they're doing fine. And when does the species become too powerful and then it becomes a rebalance? And I think we're dealing with that with wolves again. And it's like, if we're going out and thinning wolf populations because you can no longer walk your pug in the backyard and you're afraid, well, like, fuck your pug. This is Earth. You know what I mean? And like that wolf deserves to be there and your pug is not even the natural order of the wolf. So goodbye, pug. But if, the wolf man is walking into public parks and attacking a t-ball game or something, then, okay.
Bye wolf, yeah.
Bye wolf. Like this is the natural order of things. So I think we're in this like kind of new spot with some of this stuff where we have to sort of re-achieve that balance because some of the conservationship has been so successful that we really have repopulated these animals. And, there's a reason people wore wolves and bear skins over their heads as a sign of respect long times ago, it's because they're very fucking tough animals and they kill people and stuff, And even as a 30-year vegetarian, I am not naive to this. I actually think it'd be a pretty cool way to go out.
What? Getting attacked by a wolf? Are you nuts?
Getting like eaten by a bear or wolf.
Dude,
like
what?
back to nature,
Dude,
baby.
dude,
you know?
Can I tell
That's
you?
a direct way back into nature. Like, do I want to like rot in the ground and
Yeah.
eventually become stuff? Or do I want to just get eaten, turn into shit? I'm like becoming food for everyone, you know, like right away. Immediate impact.
5 more years out in the sticks for you. You're not going to have this opinion. As somebody that grew up in the sticks, man, like the entire conversation about like regulating all of this, because like up where I grew up, the conversation about like bear hunts and like deer hunts, like these are like regulated things that happen all the time because obviously like the people are like pushing for it. Then the decree comes down from the state. It's very interesting where, you know, we talk about two Americas a lot when it comes to this kind of conversation. And there's like the people that have not grown up in areas where sometimes you could say that, you know, these animals be out here getting into other people's business. And sometimes people invite the trouble on themselves when they go on these hikes. So there's people they're like passing in the night when it comes to this conversation because the people that need it aren't exactly talking to the people that don't need it all the time. So
yeah, there's a big difference between the rancher who has like 120 acres outside of Yellowstone Park and the douchebag who just tried to take a selfie with a black bear or something. You know, like the same rules don't apply to both of those people.
Like if I'm in LA and I'm trying to go for a hike around 4 or 5 o'clock and the sun's starting to go down and I start to hear the noises and
you might fuck with a cougar or something, baby.
Going for the hike. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Mountain lions. No joke. Gotta tell a quick anecdote about that.
Please.
When I was 18, I went on a cross-country national park trip with my buddy Evan in a Hyundai Accent. We show up to Glacier Park, you know, pretty gnarly park as far as like kind of stuff you can get into there. We go to the ranger station. Remember, I grew up in an apartment. I don't know how to do this stuff. I'm just on a trip, basically. And the ranger says, we're like, oh, what do we need to look out for? This and that. Well, he's like, you know, if you run into like grizzly bear or a black bear, you know, just cover the back of your head and neck. Most likely they'll bat you around and keep going. And we're like, and he's like, and if you run into, you know, a brown bear or a mountain lion, well, fight back.
Yeah.
And we're like, good idea. Should we still do this? We definitely did it. And on that same trip, literally 2 nights later in that park, I'm in a tent. I hear something. It is a fucking bear sniffing 2 feet from my face. There's fabric about that thin separating us. I lie like a board for a good 5 hours, wide awake, waiting to hear more sniffles or not until the sun comes up. So yeah, that was a close one. We almost got no Gaslight Anthem at all.
Oh man,
I was almost an 18-year-old victim of a bear attack in Montana.
Dude, in school growing up there, we would have like you know how like they have like fire drills and stuff like that. We would have like lockdown drills for bears because sometimes like
bear drills.
Because like sometimes if they leave the back door of the cafeteria open and the bear would mosey right on thin like he's Yogi Bear and like really try to do some damage.
Is that where Bear Grylls got his name from?
Oh,
is
maybe.
it a take on Bear Drills?
That's most dangerous food. I love it.
All right. Let's go. Let's move. This is the dangerous part about bringing this stuff up.
I know. Because
I'll go all day.
We could turn this into a full-on nature podcast and people be like, what happened to the music?
What happened to these guys? I like basketball.
All right. Well, speaking of, well, there's no good transition here. Benny the Blind Side has been in the news this week. And the Blind Side.
I knew it.
No, I know. The 2009 film starring Sandra Bullock has come under fire after on Monday, Michael Orr, you know, the subject of the film and one-time NFL player, came out talking about the dramatized story and asked a Tennessee court to end his legal relationship with the Tui family that was so lovingly crafted into this film. And it's become a real controversy. Apparently, according to Michael Orr, the family never adopted him, which I don't know if you remember the film was which was a pretty big part of it.
Yeah.
Or who's 37 claimed that instead they formed a conservatorship with him after he turned 18 years of age with Hello Britney Spears. We've talked about conservatorships way too much on this podcast. They said that he he said that he was tricked into signing an agreement to make the couple his conservators, giving them authority to make his business decisions and allowing the family to profit on his life story, The Blind Side, which earned $309 million. Just craziness. Apparently, Michael Ord says that he did not receive much of that money. The Tui family says that he has. So, you know, and watching that movie 15 years later, what's it, 2008 or 2009 to now, a lot of racial undertones that white America was very happy to just enjoy and give Sandra the Oscar for in 2009. So what do you make of this entire situation?
I mean, listen, I know this is a serious matter, so I don't want to like joke about it. It's like people's lives and livelihood and good names and, you know, all that stuff. But I'm also like a drummer who's a podcast host, so I kind of don't give a shit. But I mean, I remember watching this movie for the first time and getting kind of the heebie-jeebies, you know, just because of the general tone of some of the stuff. Like, one scene in particular always stood out to me, which is Sandra Bullock dressed up in her fucking blazer, drives that car right into the fucking hood and like confronts these people like as if like, I'm like, what fucking world does that happen? You know what I mean? Like that is the biggest bullshit scene I've ever seen, the way that played out. You know what I mean? I don't know. And as you said, it's one of those things that like white people don't realize they're very happy to watch. Because you can't walk like that into the projects. Right. You shouldn't. Yeah. And she does, and does it very happily and calmly and confidently. And that gives people that like, oh yeah, it makes them like kind of feel good. It made me feel weird watching it. I'm like, I don't know about this. This whole thing feels weird. And even though it's like a nice story, you know, every time I saw it, just because of the racial element and the class element and so many things to it, I found it squeamish. So there's always that. And it was always like a sensitive thing to me. And I never enjoyed that movie as much as other people because of it. As far as the actual case goes, like, I mean, I feel a little bad for a lot of people involved. I don't know exactly what the case is, but one thing that seems clear is I don't like a defense that, hey, we wouldn't do anything shady with money because we have plenty of money. That is a bunch of bullshit. And if that's like the first defense you're coming up with when you're making a press statement, like, why would I have to do that? It's like, why would I cheat? I have a hot wife. Or like, you know, it's really not a good argument, and actually lends for someone like me who has navigated this world for a long time and seen rich people and poor people. Rich people are usually the ones who are good at fucking finagling conservatorships and being shady over time. And it's not like now that we have money, we're going to stop making money. These people are good at that stuff and they keep doing that stuff. So that as an argument is a complete piece of shit. And, you know, if you are such a well-run organization with such numbers and paperwork, you should be able to quickly kind of prove your innocence with all this. Make it all public. Make your documentation public. And you can put this all to bed today, you know? So that makes me think he has some kind of case here. You know, the fact that that was the defense right off does make me think he has some kind of case. And I don't think it's as dirty as people are going to make it sound. I don't think these people's intentions were probably as like fucked up. You know, it doesn't seem like that either. But the fact that they took advantage and might have fucking swiped some money. Yeah, I don't know. Sure.
See, I try to think back to them because I don't know if you remember college football recruiting in the 2008, 2009. Like, this was like televised days. It was like bigger than the NFL draft, I think you could say at this point. So I could see a Mississippi couple thinking they found a guy who was already 5-star on Rivals and being like, oh, we could like help this kid out financially. They were being like boosters for Ole Miss. Allegedly, you know, you got to sprinkle this in there because you don't want to make too crazy of accusations. But we have seen this from so many schools in the years to come. I mean, look at the whole Adidas thing that happened that we've talked about a bunch. People have been doing this to young athletes for a long time. Granted, a lot of them have not gone as far as being like, hey, we're going to make you sign legal documents and try to take some of your future earnings. Now, apparently, as part of proceedings. They didn't touch any of his NFL money, which is a great thing. But honestly, kind of losing out on like, exploiting his story for a feature film.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a whole other line.
Yeah, and long term, I mean, and this is probably the reason this is coming out now is because maybe he's running out of his NFL money.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean? Like, he's been out for a while. Like, maybe he's starting to see that oasis when he's 50 years old. That's like, oh shit, I'm gonna run out of money. You know what I mean? And like, this thing was his path to like, do I think this happens if like he had, you know, nothing in the future that was giving him fright? But you know, the idea that like somebody is making money off you and you're not getting a cut after a certain point is probably an infuriating thing to feel. And if that's actually how he feels, I mean, you know, this is where I'm a trusting and loving person. And the idea of like them really like doing this just to get a guy in their college didn't really occur to me, but it is reasonable. Yet, even though shady, and yeah, it makes it even more like convoluted. So I don't know. At first I wanted to brush this off as kind of like, oh, this guy's just looking for money. But when I dig into it a little, I don't know. I think he might actually have some kind of case.
And that was one of the big arguments that I heard as well. Apparently, he just discovered this whole conservatorship thing in 2000, and like just this past February, which is, you know, and people are like, how did he not know? How can you not possibly know? Well, growth happens in different ways.
Yeah.
And if the fine print and everything is good enough at hiding it, you can just be going along, living your life, being like, wait, it's like people get things in the mail for found money all the bleeping time. So
Dude,
it's
100%. Like, I actually completely believe that.
Yeah.
Like, and this is coming from someone, I believe that because I can almost empathize with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, I am that type of person where you could be like, do you know that you've been under a conservatorship for like 10 years? I'll be like, what? For real?
Excuse me? Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. You know, like, so I actually do think that's possible. Like, there are different types of people in the world. Sometimes us like athlete, musician, entertaining types, everything we do on that side of the fence is just, what do I have to do at a bare minimum to make me like not go to jail is like what I do in that arena. And that's about as much time as I want to spend there. Yeah. So for people who are in like finance or business, or you have a background in this and you couldn't imagine someone not being conscious of that, well, I could.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no, it's well, we'll be interested to see where the story goes further. You know, you hope everything works out for Michael Orr. But
you know what? Let's clean this story up and go to China.
Oh, please, because let's go to somebody that's even messier. Yeah. James Harden trying to sell wine in China to apparently kids and calling Daryl Morey a liar. All right, so here's what happened this past week. James Harden, like we said, was in China, and he had this to say about his former GM.
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of again. Thank you, man.
And that's the whole deal with James Harden. Apparently, everything now. There's been some crazy speculation about this story over the past couple of days. Apparently, one of the theories is that this all started that when Harden came to Philly, Morey was like, every Friday we're gonna have pizza. And then the first month of the Sixers season, there was pizza every Friday, and then apparently the pizza went away. That was one theory about how this rip started.
Pull Pizza Fridays.
The other and more tangible theory is the fact that Morey got his guy, the guy that he has salivated over his entire career, has probably cost him a chance to win championships his entire career. He got him to his new situation in Philly. I mean, if Morey put
Houston came close, man. It wasn't a total.
They were going up against those. All right, we're getting beside the point. Right. But then Morey, after Harden took a more generous team-friendly deal last year, did not pull up the Brinks truck and give him a longer-term situation this offseason. So, Benny, what do you make of Harden going to China and being like, Morey's a liar, and then the rebuttal from Morey being like, oh, what do you want? Business.
Yeah, I know I use this analogy a lot, but it's very apropos again, which is I'm watching Daryl Morey argue with James Harden, and it's fucking with the Philadelphia 76ers. This is literally like watching three bullies at school fight each other. And I'm just hoping they all just like pummel each other for months and months and months. Because this could like ruin one of my biggest rivals. You know, like the way I look at it, and I was just having this conversation with dear friends Dave and Tim Haas, you know, loyal to the Sixers. And I get a text, Benny, do you really think the Sixers are actually like in contention next year? Because he was shocked I said that. And I'm like, yes, I do. Like 100%. If the team that goes out there next year, new coach, you know, Maxey coming into like a breakout type season situation, Harden there in tow, still got Melton, still got Harris. You have the returning MVP of the league coming back. And then you brought in like Pat Bev and PJ Tucker. You're like, classic, you know, no one will fuck with these guys. Like, you know, the vibe is going to be right, you know, because of that, it's going to be competitive. And I'm like, sure, like Bucks are bringing back the same team. Boston's got this, you know, Kristaps experiment. Like, who knows how that'll shake out? And, you know, there's, I don't see any team as like a huge cut above that squad. So this is a real fucking boof by Morey, if you ask me, because regardless of the situation, like, you know, the situation and you know the potential of this team going into it. And if you fuck up this Harden thing so bad that he starts sitting, it becomes another Ben Simmons-y kind of distraction. Embiid has kind of made some passing comments already where you're like, this experiment in Philly might be over if you fuck this up too bad. And if you did actually tell somebody you were going to do one thing and then try to pull off another thing, yes, it's business. I understand in business, you're allowed to be a fucking liar up until a certain point, you know, like to get what you want. And he's probably being a good businessman. And James Harden is offended because he's not a businessman. And he's, you know, it is ironic it happened in China, though, isn't it?
And you sold 10,000 bottles of wine just like that. Boom.
You know, that's where I'm like, there is a part of it was like, oh, we're going to drop this in China where Morey's already in, you know, maybe got some fans and then try to sell a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, you know, how much of this is just Harden like doing, you know, he's never minded putting himself way far out there for like a PR stunt or trying to get himself off a team or something. His track record, I mean, to give him credit, he'll go to any length of extremes to get what he wants. So I think it's a messy situation. I don't like it. And especially because as a basketball fan, you know, if you don't sign Harden and he waits and there's not really a trade market for this guy like you want anymore, it's just another one of these bullshit situations. And now I'm talking about James Harden instead of fucking basketball again, you know? So I would like this to solve itself like fairly soon, just so we don't have to keep talking about this, you know, because it's a very popular team, a very good team, and a very important player. And as a fan, I enjoy it more if I can just watch this guy go out there and play basketball with this team at the beginning of the season, you know?
See, there's a few things here. I don't understand why Morey just doesn't give him the deal that he wants, and then you can always get off it. Like, you can move most of these deals, but I wonder if Morey's hesitation to do that was because of the second apron in the new CBA that we've talked about a bunch. That's going to make it harder for teams to essentially he would have to give Harden his money, and then you'd have like no money for mid-level guys that are the guys that help build up your championship roster. That's essentially what is in the new CBA with this. So Morey very much trying to play cards ahead. But the thing that I don't think he took into account that is if this Harden thing doesn't work out, your road is done, man. Like your road in the NBA. You have not won a championship with any team. This may be your last opportunity. So
definitely your last like carte blanche opportunity. Like you got
100%.
100%.
So he goes into that with that kind of mentality. You pay the guy and then try to see how you can move off of it later. That's how the things have been done. So I think there's always been a classic struggle here with Morey between ego, what he believes basketball is, and what championship teams have done.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. He's kind of tracking to be a podcast host in a couple years,
no.
maybe.
Oh man,
We're
the
gonna have the
ringer.
Draymond Daryl show.
I don't
They're
know.
gonna
He
team
missed
up.
that bubble too. He missed that bubble.
Yeah,
too.
he's late on the podcast bubble. What's he gonna do next? Well, I think he's gonna be fine regardless. But yeah, no, it's a booth, man. And take it from a Nets fan. This is what happens when you throw your satchel of coins into the James Harden bank. Like it gets messy. Okay, I don't know if you know this. Bit of an unsettling character around the team. I'm not sure if you've seen. Yeah.
I love it. All right, let's touch on. Actually, no, we have a little bit of basketball. If you just want to get into the league, announce its 2023-2024 schedule. We got some key dates for you here, Ben. So let me just run through some of the headliners from Thursday's announcement. The season kicks off October 24th. Los Angeles Lakers travel to the Denver Nuggets in a incredible matchup there, and then the nightcap. We got to get the NBA on TNT crew staying up late for Phoenix at Golden State, 10 p.m. there. Then a couple other early season headlines. Victor Wembanyama makes his NBA debut October 25th against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. A big game for Europe here. Let me tell you that.
Love
the
that.
NBA Europe stands are just going to love it. 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Then we'll get into the Christmas Day games in just a little bit. But which one of those games most excites you in the middle of August?
I mean, probably Wemby, just because I'm like dying to see it. Like I'm dying to see this happen. In a real life situation against Luka and how this plays out. But again, like I think it's going to be a little. It's the classic thing. Like as generationally good as this guy is going to be, it's still a stretch to imagine he's going to affect winning at a serious level this season. Like it's a hard thing. Can I bring up an ancillary point to this?
Please.
I heard the most boastful Greg Popovich podcast the other day, as if this guy, like, when do you get to a point where you're so beloved that you can keep being called the greatest of all time, slam down the book, no doubt about it, when you're coming off like how many straight terrible losing seasons?
Yeah.
I know we gave him respect. Like I even said on this show, like 3 years ago, I'm like, there's no way Popovich is going to sit around and coach this team because they were that bad. But like, that's a funny thing about it. But regardless, moving on. I thought the Nuggets got screwed. For some reason, like half these games I'm looking at as usual are the same cast: Lakers, Celtics, Warriors. Too many Mavericks games for some reason. I'm like, this team didn't make the playoffs. And the Nuggets I saw only getting one Sunday game as usual, getting screwed a little bit. So I think that's in play, but whatever. I don't give a shit about the NBA schedule. Like let's play it out and see what happens. They're going to change it anyway in 4 months when some team is bad and another one is good.
That's right. They're going to flex it out. They're going to do the NFL thing. Any interest in talking about these Christmas Day games? Because that's no? Okay. We'll move on to baseball then.
Not yet.
All right.
Not yet.
All right. Yeah, because I saw some of them and I was like, oh, Christmas Day maybe.
All right, give me one. Warmer. Give me your biggest shit Christmas game that you're like, why is this happening?
Why is this happening? I mean, I think, depending on how this happens, I think Miami, Philadelphia could be like, if Harden's not playing, Miami lost a bunch of pieces. I think that could be interesting.
Have a nice 83 to 81.
Yeah.
1990s throwback game.
100%. But all right. Yeah, so that's kind of the Christmas Day games. You got you got Bucks Knicks. That's gonna be fun. Warriors Nuggets. That will be fun. So
I don't know. For a basketball fan like me, man, I see a schedule like this and I'm like, this is like the old guard, the old hat, and like there's a lot of kind of new more exciting teams that I'd rather watch play in these situations. You know what I mean? Like next season, I'm a little more interested. Like, give me one Pacers game.
Yeah, or
You know
like
what I mean? Give me-
Minnesota, Orlando. Like,
Yeah,
give me,
give me a Memphis game like 6
Yeah.
months from now. Give me a little more sun. There's no Kings on this. There's no Thunder
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah.
Like none of these really interesting teams. Not to mention the Brooklyn Nets. With my Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges core. Listen, I'm so deep into the offseason. I'm listening to podcasts on like Cam Thomas's production next year. So I'm starting to convince myself of all sorts of things.
Hey, man,
But
I saw David Duke at Summer League. He looked nice.
he looks good. Darius Baisley coming in
David
for
Duke
25
Jr.
minutes
David
a night.
Duke Jr. Every time I say his name, I got to say the full name because otherwise you're saying a controversial historical figure.
Listen.
David Duke Jr.
Let's touch on the Nets real quick, okay?
Oh, okay.
Can I say one thing about the Nets?
Yeah, sure.
The one thing that it's nice to watch again, now that we're completely gone from the Big Three era, is one of the things I grew to like about Sean Marks was taking chances on certain players in very friendly deals that actually pan out. You remember Joe Harris was almost out of the league. Spencer Dinwiddie was almost out of the league. These were Nets reclamation projects that turned into like decade-long NBA careers. So watching the offseason of focusing on only re-signing Cam Johnson, putting him in a bigger role, and then giving these one-year contracts to Dennis Smith Jr., Lonnie Walker, and Darius Baisley, who are all useful players who could potentially have been in suffocating situations and have a little more growth with a little more room. So I don't think the Nets are coming for like a title this year. I'm wondering if we're even going to make the playoffs, but I like watching the GM doing good work again, because if one of these three pans out and you have the bird rights and you sign him on a nice deal, then you're watching like team building actually come again. So that's my quick rant about the Nets. I don't think they're going to be great next year, but I am, as a fan, enjoying this path.
We got to get out to training camp for them. I'll try to make that happen.
All right,
so
please do. Please
All
do.
right.
Howard Beck told me he's going to introduce me to Kenny Atkinson like 7 years ago. I need my in with the Nets for once. Jesus.
Well, we'll try to get it back. All right, let's wrap here with a little bit of baseball. Benny, the Los Angeles Dodgers, another a former Brooklyn team out there on killing it on the West Coast, 11 straight wins. They beat the Brewers on Thursday night. They are now outscoring on. This is what happens when I copy and paste baseball stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a major typo here. But anyway, the Dodgers had their 12th shutout of the season against the Brewers, crushing it, 11 straight wins. As of right now, dog days a little bit here, but are you looking at the Dodgers as one of your World Series favorites?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I think I've been seeing a lot of like, manager of the year stuff get tossed around. And for some reason, I'm not seeing Dave Roberts' name on this list. And, granted, on the offensive side, every single day you're playing two of the top 10 players in baseball. Every single day when you're putting Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman out there, you have an advantage. You know what I mean? Not many teams can say they're putting two of the top 10 players out there. But to his credit, the pitching staff's been a damn mess this year. Kershaw's been in and out. Urias has just been okay. And then after that, you got Tony Gonsolin. Hudson's been hurt. They trade for Lance Lynn. They bring up Bobby Miller from the minors. All these other injuries, Walker Buehler has been coming back all season. He's actually throwing a little bit, so they might get him back for the playoffs. But I think the Dodgers have been a really impressive team because it hasn't been a consistent thing, especially on the pitching side. It's been super patchwork, and I'm impressed with the management. I think they've done a really nice job. So I don't think the Dodgers are necessarily like the team to beat at this point because of a lot of different reasons. I would still say the Braves are, the massive team in the NL that's going to be real tough to get through. And then when you're going into the AL, you're starting to get back to the Astros and the upstart Orioles and who's going to come out there. So I'm not going to say that the Dodgers are my full-on favorite right now, but impressive team to watch. And I got to be honest, just as a shitty Yankees fan, it's so much fun to watch Mookie Betts just be so great every day with another like what a classic Babe Ruthian boof that was. Just letting that dude walk out of town. Oh, that was gonna be your Joe DiMaggio. I don't know why they did that. Terrible.
All right, real quick before we get out of here, 30 seconds on the Yankees being around 500 at this point in the season.
Oh, damn mess. This team really fell apart. I mean, I don't know how you could frame it in 30 seconds, but like, technically they still have a, small percentage chance of getting in. But some of these moves have just really, really boofed so hard. I mean, Rodon right off the bat, Frankie Montas, people forget we even traded for how little he's produced. You're seeing these Josh Donaldson and Rizzos and all these guys coming in and out of the lineup, mostly being hurt, not really helping. Stanton hitting 200. It's a terrible season. The only thing you can really take away from it is watching some of the relief pitchers shine and watching Anthony Volpe doing some pretty interesting things out there. But it's ugly in Yankees land, and I'm already getting to that. It's not a normal feeling by August 18th for me to be going like, well, I guess let's think for next year. But that's where my head's starting to go, and I don't have much of a choice to be there. I mean, what realistically, like even if the Yankees go on a run right now, they have to go on a historic fucking run to get anywhere near it. I mean, they're currently 13 games back from the Rays, who are the first wild card team. And then you're sitting at, the Astros with 70 wins as the second wild card team. And the Yankees are 60 and 61 with a negative 14 run differential. They've lost 5 in a row. They have a 2.5% chance to make the playoffs. So looking grim in Yankees land, my friend. Looking grim. Let's get the kids up. Let's start to take a look,
Well, if you want to take a look in our inbox, it is at the tuneup, is at the tuneup podcast at gmail.com. 2 P's in there. If you want to follow us on all the social platforms, it is at the tuneup HQ on Twitter, X, TikTok. That just doesn't roll off. I know it sounds like I'm saying we're tuneup HQ on ecstasy. No, we're on Twitter, the artist formerly known as TikTok, Instagram, you know the deal. Subscribe on YouTube. Plenty of good stuff happening over there. If you want to follow the big man, he is at Benny Horowitz on Instagram. I'm at Deny Gallagher. Benny, you got anything else?
You ever done ecstasy, bro?
Oh, the show has ended. Go in peace. You've been listening to and watching the